Hello and welcome to Grand Prix Yogyakarta coverage for the MSEM format. Today we're watching the round 2 match between Herzi, who is on blue-white weaving, and BluesEclipse, who is on blue-red Infuse storm. So this matchup is probably going to be very tough for Blues because Herzi is on a hard control deck and has a reasonable number of answers for basically Blues' entire game plan. Once Herzi gets to 4 mana, Herzi can basically just hold up Legend Weaving. Once Herzi gets to 4 mana, Herzi can basically hold up Legend Weaving for the Moon Rises at instant speed, and cast it in response to Infuse, and that just kind of blows out Blues' entire plan. So Blue starting out with the Shugenja Castle, which is basically a rainbow land which can only be used to cast instants or sorceries. And Oracle's Vision. Oracle's Vision mills each player for 3, and then it lets Blues draw a card, which is very good for Blues because Blues' plan is to use Infuse the Apparatus, which is a very expensive card. I believe it's 12 mana, but it costs 1 less for each instant or sorcery in your graveyard. And when you cast it, you exile each instant or sorcery from your graveyard, search your library for a card with the same name as those exiled cards, and cast them. And then you basically either use Unleash the Dragon, which is this format's version of Grapeshot, or you have a Tiernan Pyromancer, which is effectively it's a red creature, which whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it deals 1 damage to each player. So you have either of those, and then you just drain your opponent for lethal. So notably, Herzi does have, in addition to the line I mentioned with the Moon Rises, Herzi also has counter magic, 4 copies of Unraveling, 1 copy of Disallow for Infuse the Apparatus, or Unleash the Dragon. Herzi also has the ability to Weaving for Guiding Light, which shuts off everything except Tyrant Pyromancer. So Herzi could preemptively Guiding Light and then force Blues to have Tiernan as their only win con, which, considering Blues has only 2 copies of Tiernan compared to I don't know how many copies of Infuse. Let's look at the deck list. Yeah, the full 4 of Infuse the Apparatus makes it more difficult for Blues to actually have a win con. So Distant Thunder, discarding Infuse, and Scorch. Just getting in right now, playing the burn game. Herzi doesn't really want to counter any of these. And if Herzi does end up getting too low on life, they can plausibly search out for a Serene Prayer. But generally, probably don't want to do that unless you're safely out of Infuse range, in the sense of already have your other lock pieces set up. So tapping 3 for Edge of the Water. Okay. I'm surprised that Herzi's tapping out here, and to me that says that Herzi's hand does not have a lot of good answers for what Blues is doing, at least at this current time. Or they're not too worried. Oh, Infuse the Apparatus. Wow, really? I guess Blues does have 11 because they have Monkey Shines and Oracle's Vision. Wow. And with only 2, that was a 2-lander. It just came out of nowhere. Huh, okay, I guess Blues wins game 1. That was I believe that was either turn 3 or turn 4. Still, that was insane. So let's see what each player is in the sideboard here. I think Negate is probably coming in from Blues as combo protection. Lost in Smoke works. Actually, I don't know. I think Lost in Smoke could work as anti-Merc Accords, anti-Guiding Light tech. Versus Merc Accords, I think versus Merc Accords, Herzi would just name 1. So Lost in Smoke works. Farmer's Repose is interesting. I guess the plan is to cast them off Shugenja Sanctuary, which like no fetches for Shugenja, and like I guess last game Blues had Shugenja, like double Shugenja, but I don't know how often that'll happen. And then okay, Shrine of the Six Pillars. Oh, okay, Shrine of the Six Pillars coming in alongside Farmer's Repos is probably what the plan is. But Shrine of Six Pillars also makes it harder to cast all your other spells. I don't know, but probably some number of negate, Lost in Smoke, Farmer's Repos. Meanwhile, Herzi side of things, I think Sigil of Radiance, I believe that cuts off Infuse, Guiding Light, and maybe Sandscatter, but I think really Herzi's main board should be able to deal with blues reasonably well. Maybe a Heat Study to dig for answers, but again, like tapping out is something you never want to be doing versus this deck. And the thing to note here is that though usually in Swiss, pairings are made by those who are like people who have a similar set record so far are paired. Herzi is actually down a set and Blues is actually up a set. Blues won 2-1 and Herzi lost the previous set 2-1. So this game is really pivotal. Essentially, if Herzi loses this game, Herzi will be out of running for the cut to top, I believe it'll be top 4. And meanwhile, Blues will be in a strong position to reach that, needing only to win one set between the next 2 rounds. So Herzi has Cursory Glance mana up. And Blues just, okay, passing. What does Blues have at instant speed? Probably like Distant Thunder and stuff like that. Fair amount. Opt, Distant Thunder, Social Graces. Doesn't have mana for Arcgen or Redo, notably. Or actually, sorry, does have the mana for Arcgen and Redo. I thought they didn't have access to double red. That was my bad. So tapping out for Tiernan Pyromancer, Herzi does not have an answer. Or if Herzi has an answer, Herzi's not playing it. Oh, Herzi, okay. End step, once shunned. That works. Blues could still plausibly have like opt and play it on the end of Herzi's turn. So it seems that Blues is getting somewhat flooded. Oh, failed to... Does Blues only have one of each basic? No, Blues has more, but did Blues maybe cited out a basic for Shrine of the Six Pillars? That could be what happened. That would be disappointing. So, Scorching Face. Oh, Social Graces. So Social Graces is basically a Git probe, but it's only online if a player has taken damage that turn. So Herzi has Guiding Light, Cursory Glance, Unraveling, Icon's Portal, and The Moon Rises. So Herzi has like all of the answers, is what we're hearing. I think, yeah, next turn Herzi just drops Guiding Light. I guess the worry is that Blues has a blue up and could potentially have Redo or Arcgen. Oh, Herzi's immediately. Okay, that's interesting because this is like a Bernie matchup. So Herzi. Okay, so I guess Herzi is counting on Blues having Redo and not Arcgen. That is Redo. So Herzi can crack. No, Herzi has an island. So Herzi can't pay the cost. Unless Herzi is playing Once Shunned. Oh, no, not Once Shunned, sorry. Cursory Glance, because we know Herzi has Cursory Glance. So yeah, Herzi's going to counter the Redo with Cursory Glance. So Guiding Light has stuck. Now that it's resolved, Blues' only answer is Lost in Smoke. Tiernan Pyromancer is off the table, and both Unleash the Dragon and all of Blues' burn is red. So Blues needs to have Lost in Smoke. Oh, there's the Tiernan. There's the second Tiernan Pyromancer. So that makes the Guiding Light look not as great. Oh, and hers is going to immediately crack the fetch again. I guess now that Herzi has Guiding Light, Herzi's less scared of burn and really just wants to answer this Tiernan Pyromancer. Moon rises, exiling. Blues only has one card in grave. Why is Herzi doing that? I don't know if I agree with this. I guess it's a clock? And Herzi has Unraveling up now? So Orchestrate Storm Surge. Okay. So Herzi could be taking up to 3 damage here. Seek Prophecy. So Herzi takes 1. I guess what Herzi could be... So I guess what Herzi could be doing is... Oh, Tiernan Pyromancer can also attack. That's true. So Herzi could be planning on using Unraveling to tap out Tiernan, to tap out Blues, or it could be using the -2/-0 mode for Tiernan Pyromancer. And another Oracle's Vision, that makes Tiernan Pyromancer a 4/4. And so Herzi will go down to 5 life this turn. Oh, and Herzi mills Legend Weaving. That's not a good look. Herzi really wanted that Legend Weaving to be able to grab like some removal for this Tiernan Pyromancer. Oh, wow. So Blues was about to cast something with Shugenja Sanctuary, but decided not to. I don't think there's any reason not to here, honestly. Because even if you have like cantrips that can be cast at instant speed, you kind of want to do it now to get in more damage with Tiernan. So Blues is going to attack with Tiernan. Herzi going to Unraveling for the -2/-0 mode. Yeah. Oh, -3/-0. So Herzi only gets pinged for 1. That might also be why Blues didn't tap Shugenja. So that even if Herzi Unraveling again here, which we know Herzi has another Unraveling, so Unraveling, Herzi could potentially Unraveling again to prevent an untap, and then use the draw mode. Blues would still have a land up. So Herzi really needs. Oh, that's not double white. Tapping 3 for another Unraveling, land freeze, draw. Yeah. So Herzi needs to find a Planner Eviction for this Tiernan Pyromancer. Or Herzi did Herzi like side out their Planner Eviction, or like not side them in? That could be the case. Oh, Herzi has Photon Barricade and Radiant Bonds, both of which might have come out, but I doubt it, because I don't know what else on the side Herzi would bring in, other than the Guiding Lights. Or Sandscatter. There's like a bunch of okay, Icon's Portal to dig more. Herzi's down to 1 card in hand. So Refracted Thought, Sandscatter, Scanscatter. So I that was off of Icon. I'm pretty sure Herzi would grab Sandscatter in the situation in order to kill Tiernan, because that's killing Tiernan wins Herzi the game here. Oh wow! And the Farmer's Repos actually gets cast on Icon. I would think, unless Blues has like another one, I would think that. Oh no! Unless Herzi grabbed Refracted Thoughts. Herzi might have grabbed Refracted Thoughts. If Herzi grabbed Refracted Thoughts, then Herzi is in a really bad place here. Because Sandscatter, without Sandscatter or like some removal to kill Tiernan, Blues can just untap next turn, have 4 instants or sorceries, and then kill. Serene Prayer helps a lot. So what Blues needs here is another Farmer's Repose, or Blues needs a Lost in Smoke. Like another Farmer's Repose. No. These are some insane draws from Blues. And then so now if the rest of if Blues has like 3 because Herzi only has 1 card in hand, which must be Unraveling. So actually so wait, so since we know it's Unraveling, it can't be Herzi can't die this turn. But Herzi is going to take 2. And Herzi needs access to removal for this Pyromancer. Otherwise, Herzi loses. So what is Herzi going to top deck? Blues does have Counterspell mana up, notably. And if it's an Arcgen, it's a hard counter. Arcgen or Negate. Oh god, Herzi drew a land. Oh, Rahid Study. Okay. Oh no. Is this Arcgen? No, that's Negate. Oh no. And with Blues has 1 card in hand, but also Blues only needs 1 spell to win the game. Tapping 3 for Distant Thunder. And that's it. Wow. And BluesEclipse takes it 2-0 over Herzi. And what I would say is like a huge upset. Hello.
What?
Congrats on the win, first of all. I guess like the first thing to ask is, what are your thoughts on this matchup before you played, and how did that line up against how it actually played out?
I was expecting to have a much more difficult time with the matchup, simply because of the fact that, I'll admit, even looking at the deck list, I'm not entirely certain what I was supposed to be watching out for from Herzi's deck there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Herzi's plan was mostly just land Guiding Light, land Moon Rises, and then if you had Tiernan Pyromancer, counter or kill it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming. What did Herzi grab off of the Icon trigger?
I'm not 100% certain. Let me check the log here.
I remember Herzi saying like Sandscatter, like Refracted.
Yeah, he had Refracted, Sandscatter, a white-blue fetch.
Yeah, but I didn't see any of those in hand, so I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure what that was referring to then. Might have. I don't think taking the Herzi might have taken the fetch, but I feel like that's like the worst choice in that situation. I don't know why.
Well, in fairness, I mean, the Sandscatters were not... Well, I suppose the Sandscatters would have helped take out my Pyromancer.
And Pyromancer was the only win con you had there. So there's either Refracted Thoughts if Herzi was going for the win next turn, or Sandscatter to kill the Tiernan Pyromancer and be safe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think we saw some of this during the match, but how did you sideboard? I'm assuming Farmer's Repose, Negate, and Lost in Smoke in, and out for one.
Actually, no. I used the Farmer's Reposes, and then I sided in the Shrines of the Six Pillars, and swapped out 2 of my basics. You saw that when I popped a Wayfarer's Shrine and then failed to find.
Yeah, I was like, okay, yeah, he definitely sided in the shrines there. Like I mentioned during the match, I just forgot here.
Yeah.
You did have like you did have negate though. So what did you side out for that?
I actually wound up siding out a couple of opts and a couple of social graces.
Okay, makes sense. So far you're up 2-0, and I think if you win one more set, you make the cut to top 4. So what matchups are you hoping to run into over the next 2 rounds, and which ones are you hoping to avoid?
Well, I'm not a fan of the Anarchists decks. Those, from what I've played against, are generally pretty poor matchups for me. Just because it's either I get my ridiculously quick win or they get a ridiculously quick win.
Mm-hmm.
And the amount of burn I have for spot removal really does not do as much for me in that matchup, given that they want a lot of their stuff going to the graveyard anyway.
Yeah, fair.
Right, aside from that, I'd say I have at least a 50-50 chance against any of the decks that are up there.
Yeah, it feels like most of the other decks, like most of their game versus you comes from the sideboard. Actually, I honestly think that Herzi was probably your worst matchup, and you kind of just like overcame it right here.
Yeah,
So.
and to be perfectly honest, just a lot of what I'm seeing, I'm kind of thinking that Monger's deck and Schism's deck are kind of the boogeymen of the format right now.
Yeah, insofar as the format is for this tournament.
Yeah, at least for this tournament's meta.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I really think a lot of people putting in their options there are more concerned with that, which at the very least helps me to kind of slide under the radar in a lot of cases.
Yeah, the incidental grave hate does get you though.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, I have enough things in my deck to dump cards back into my graveyard that I should be able to recover from something like a Memento Mori or a Moon Rises.
Yeah, I'm thinking more like Sigil of Radiance, but those are also like relevant
Right.
cards. Also like Cold Grave.
Yeah, but that's also actually why that's actually what got me putting in both Farmer's Repose and Lost in Smoke.
Mm-hmm.
Because for something like Sigil, if I'm up against Sigil, I know I can slot in Lost in Smoke, and when I need to go off, just pop Lost in Smoke in order to their Sigil for the turn, and just cast Infuse and win.
Makes sense. Yep, and it doesn't require like any screwing around with your mana base. Like,
right.
Okay, being able to get Guiding Light mana was actually, not Guiding Light, sorry, but Farmer's Repose mana there, just crazy. Shigenja Castle is really like a powerful card.
Yeah. And it's just, I'm running the 4 Shigenja Sanctuaries anyway, and that's why I threw those 2 shrines into the Shrine of the 6 Pillars into the sideboard, is specifically so that when I need to slot in the Farmer's Repose, I can swap those in order to give me the additional 5 color sources.
Yeah, I think though probably Dockyard Swindling would probably be like a safer option.
Not familiar with that card.
Here I'm going to call it up in voice text right here.
Yep.
It's 1 white, exile target, an artifact or enchantment, and you gain 1 life.
Oh. Oh, yeah. I can see how that would actually be better for me.
Yeah, I think Farmer's Repose, you see it in a lot of lists because it's like a holdover from like older lists.
But, yeah, that's why it was my go-to there.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I don't think I have any other questions.
But
do you have
it did the job I needed it to do.
Huh?
What was that?
I was just saying that I don't have any more questions. So if there's anything else you want to say about the deck or the tournament.
Nothing at the moment. I mean, This is really the first tournament I've played since I've gotten back into MSEM. So,
Oh, wait, when did you last play at MSEM? It must have been before my time then.
it was a while back. Yeah, I want to say it was GPC.
Yeah, okay, that's way before I joined around like the start of 2019. That's when I started
Yeah,
playing MSEM. So the GPC
yeah.
was
No, I was here a
must have been like
while
more than a
back.
year, like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have you
Yeah, it's
back.
funny because the white blue artifact deck that I'm running in the skirmish right now
Hmm.
is actually basically a rebuild of the deck that I ran back then.
Okay. So just kind of like feeling out like the old archetypes you played and just like
Yeah,
putting in the new toys that have come in with the God knows how many sets since then.
yeah, yeah. I figure use that as a starting point, and then I saw Infuse, and I was like, okay, so a 12 CMC card. How can I get this out quickly?
Big thoughts.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw that game one there. I got it out
It was
turn 4.
literally blink and you miss it. I was like, he has the mana for Infuse. Oh, Herzi's dead. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I
and
guess Herzi just didn't have
that's the
good
way the deck
interaction game
runs
one
there.
because otherwise Herzi probably wouldn't have tapped out for Edge of the Water if they had like one of the counter spells.
Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, I guess it is the problem with Herzi's deck is that it's like it's very strong, but then it can die to like drawing the wrong half or like not drawing a legend weaving when you need it. Like legend weaving is good, but it's also very slow. So you need the
uh-huh.
faster answers.
Right. And it's just like you mentioned with my deck, it's kind of a blink and you'll miss it scenario.
Well, what was
So
that?
it
Was that Infuse turn 3 or turn 4? That first
turn
game?
4.
Turn 4. Okay.
Yeah. Getting it turn 3 pretty much requires God Hand,
Okay.
but it is possible. But at the same time, if I'm getting it turn 3, it's iffy whether I'll actually have enough in the graveyard to get the kill off it or not.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Yeah. But it's just that's the one thing I'm finding with this deck. Every bit of playtesting I've done there is unless the opponent has a very, very fast deck or
Mm-hmm.
just does not have things that really answer it, they generally have to choose between either keeping up options to respond to it or building their own board state.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, Legend
And
Weaving is like I guess a deck that can afford to do that, but then it's options to build its board state at instant speed only come online at 4 mana, and at 4 mana, that might already be like a little bit too late.
yeah, and I really think that's actually what happened there with Herzi more than anything was just he had to focus on trying to answer the possibility of me dropping an infuse or dropping something similar and
Mm-hmm.
slowed himself down in the process.
Yep.
But like you said, I'm up by 2 at this point.
Yeah, so it seems like probably a good chance of making it into the cut to. I think it's top 4 this time, but yeah, probably cut to top 4.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So good job on your performance so far, and good luck with the rest of the tournament. I don't have much else to say here.
Yep. I do thank you, and you have a wonderful day.
Same to you. Thanks for joining
Yep.
me.
Later.
Later.